Starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Thank you for attending this Monday morning classroom session of shortcuts. Sorry for the delay. As soon as I connected my system to our office machine, the one that I usually do the presentations from, I got the blue screen of death. So as you guessed, we're starting late because my computer has finally finished restarting. So I see people are jumping back in, the attendees are rejoining, probably because they hear audio from their computer and they're wondering, oh boy, this is really happening. So apologies to everybody. I will be recording this session. So if you're attending late, don't worry, we will record this session and we will make sure that everybody gets a copy that signed up for it. So in case you're new, in case you've never sat in on one of these presentations before, so what the Monday classroom sessions are about are a way to get you up to speed on some of the basics in shortcuts. So if you're new to shortcuts, if you're a manager or an owner or a receptionist, and you really need to get up to speed with shortcuts, every Monday morning is a chance for you to learn one of our features. So for today, we're going to look at using the Walkin Manager. So the Walkin Manager is traditionally there, and I'm enabling my shortcuts database, my pretend database, so that we can practice with it. Okay, so let's go back to the actual presentation. So we're going to be learning about the Walk-in Manager. So again, the Walk-in Manager is historically used in barber shops or locations where you don't really take reservations. You more deal with just a walk-in client basis. This can include some spa situations. This can include nail salons, of course. So if that's your business model, then this is the Shortcuts Walk-in Manager. So as with our previous presentations, this webinar is about 30 minutes. We're going to allow some time at the end for questions. My microphone is, of course, turned on. Everybody else is muted. So hopefully you can hear the audio. So your speakers must be turned on, and that's why we have the bullet point. The presentation starts, and people don't hear me because their speakers are down. So we will take questions at the end, but if there's something pressing, on the right side of your screen, you should have a question. You should have a little chat window. Go ahead and just type in the questions there, and I'll pause where I'm at and take a look at it. So today, we're going to look at the walk-in manager. How do you configure your walk-in options? How do you clock employees in? How do you use the wait and in-service screens? How do you add customer details? And of course, how do you check customers out? So the walk-in manager. So the first thing you want to do is set your options. Are you a particular barbershop, salon, or spa that requires tickets so that your staff can track who is the customer, what service are they receiving? Do they need to add notes for this visit? Things like that. So these are visit and in-service tickets. If you have to enable those, then you actually go to Setup Configuration, General, and Walk-in. And you have a few options. You can print a ticket as soon as somebody arrives or goes into service. You can ask shortcuts. What questions are you going to ask? Do you want to capture names or not necessarily? Things like that. So usually these settings are only accessed by the owner. So if you go to setup and configuration and general and do not see walk-in options, then you probably need to have elevated permissions. Again, usually just the owner. Once you set your options, then you want to know some basics. So the walk-in screen itself, it's divided into 3 columns. A left side is the wait list. That's where your customer names go, how long they're waiting. In the middle, this is the column that allows you to put customers into service or check them out. And on the right side, it shows the list of every customer that's currently in the chair receiving a service. So how long they've been in service, approximately how many minutes they have left. Now, we are going to look at the actual walk-in manager screen when we do a live demo. So what exactly do you see in the screen, either the wait list or the in-service screen? At the very top, if you right-click on the column, you can actually tell shortcuts to show or hide certain columns. So maybe you want to see the estimated wait time or the total wait time, or you want to hide those. Do you want to show the price or the services? So you just right click at the very top of the column and enable or disable those options. So the same rules apply to the service screen. So whether they're waiting or in service, you can enable or disable certain columns. So in the middle column, whenever you need to add a new customer or check out a customer, those are your first two options, the big green plus button or the checkout flag. You can move customers into service or return them to the wait list in case an employee is not quite ready to see them. So the very first thing you do before you start receiving customers is you want to start your day. This is how Shortcuts knows an employee is available to check a customer in. So at the bottom of the screen, you click the employee's name and you say clock on. So you always want to clock an employee on before you take customers. Now, at the bottom of the screen, the staff members that are scheduled to work that day, those names will show up at the bottom of the screen. So Shortcuts will always list those employees, but it doesn't let you check them out until the employee has actually clocked on for work. So just because somebody is scheduled to work today doesn't mean you're paying them for time that they're not actually clocked on. So always remember to clock on the staff. Now, if the team member comes in on an off day, and it happens, maybe they need to make up some hours, they can press the Add Employee button, look for their name, and then clock themselves on a day they're not normally scheduled. So first thing you do every morning, clock in the staff as they arrive. Now, if the staff ever needs to go on a break, so we need to always adjust what the estimated wait time is. So if a staff member does 3 or 4 haircuts in a row and then they decide they need to take a break, then again, they would click their name and there's an option that says away. And they can tell Shortcuts, am I going out for 10, 15 minutes to have a smoking break or a coffee break? As soon as they do that, Shortcuts will automatically adjust the wait time for the customers. That has a wallboard, which is a screen that shows who's next in the service, what's the estimated wait time. So when customers come in and look at the TV, they can see the leaderboard, see who's next. And when the staff puts themselves for away, that adjusts the wait time for everybody. So nobody's surprised if all of a sudden it jumps 10 or 15 minutes because somebody went away. And of course, when the staff member returns, when they press the return button, after they click their name, it will adjust the wait time again. So that's why we always say this is an estimated wait time. We never tell the customer this is absolutely 15 minutes, this is estimated 15 minutes, because my staff can take a break at any time and the time is going to be adjusted. So adding clients. So we're going to pause right here and make sure that you caught those first few steps. So we're going to go to the actual Shortcuts point of sale. So again, the left side is the wait screen. The right side is the in-service screen. On the bottom left corner, I have 2 pretend employees, one named Business, one named Shortcuts. If I need to clock on, I click that employee's name and I press clock on. So now my 2 employees are now clocked on. If they decide to go on break, then I can click their name and tell Shortcuts I'm going to be away for 10 or 15 minutes. And when I return, I can just press the return button. So all of those steps should be easy, fairly intuitive. So if you're paying your staff hourly, this is probably the easiest way to get them clocked in and clocked out. The other way would be to use the performance button on the right side of the screen. On this window, I can also choose the name of the employee and on the top right corner, clock them on or clock them off. So just keep that in mind. There is more than one way to clock your staff in or out. So now the next part, once we have staff available, we need to add customers. So at the very top of the screen, we can press New. Now the New Visit option, Client Identifier. If you're a site that does not necessarily collect too much customer information, you're not interested in phone numbers, you're not interested in emails, you just really want to get customers in and out the door as fast as you can, then what this window is for is just to type in at least the first name of the customer, nothing else. So the first person that comes in, you have a line out the door, is named Steve. So that's it. That's the only piece of information I put in there. I can hit done. And shortcuts might ask me to put a tag on this client. Now, this is a window that you can disable if you choose. Tags are very important. Tags are a way to get a head count on the types of customers that you had. So at the end of a week or a pay period, if you just want to get a head count on the types of customers you had, I would advise using a tag. So these could be things like this is a salon regular, this is a new client, this is a request. So I'm going to say, oh, this is just a new client. So I chose a name and I pressed done. So now on the left side of the screen, I have all of my possible services. So I'm going to go to men's services, and on the center, I'm going to say this person is getting a men's cut. So I chose the customer, I put in the tag and the service. When I press done, Shortcuts is going to say, okay, this is the first employee that I found that was available for this. So the business is going to do the haircut. Does Steve want to go into service now? Yes or no? If he says, I'm ready to jump in the chair, then press in service. Shortcuts will confirm who's doing the haircut in case the customer changes his mind, and I'll press done. So you probably noticed that Steve's name jumped from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. So I'll actually press new, and the next person that comes in is Colby. So same steps. Colby's a new client. Colby is also getting a men's cut. Shortcuts is available to cut the hair, so Colby's going to go into service. So the third person that was in line, I'll ask for his name, and Clark. He's a new client, and he's also getting a men's cut. Now, unfortunately, my two employees are already cutting hair. So Clark, we're going to give him an estimated wait time of 44 minutes. So Shortcuts will say, okay, you can be seated at 10:11. So do you want to wait or would you like to return? So you have two options in the middle of the screen. If Clark says, I don't have any place to go right now, I'll just wait. So I'm going to press the wait button. And his name is going to stay on the left side of the screen until one of the two customers on the right are checked out. Now, the next person after Clark, if it was, who else? Andy. So Andy was the next person. He's actually one of my shop regulars. And he's going to get a men's cut as well. So the thing about Andy is that he's just going to check in, but he's going to get breakfast. And he's not sure if he'll be back in time within 43 minutes. So he's just going to tell us, I will return a little bit later. I might return within 43 minutes. I might not come back for another 2 hours, but I will come back today. So I'm going to press return. And when I do that, if you notice on the left side of the screen, it actually shows us a slightly different icon between Clark and Andy. Clark is, of course, a new client and he is waiting, but Andy has this little icon next to the S for Salon Regular. And the icon, it looks like a little circle, a red and a green arrow in a circle. And it says, Andy is not waiting in the wait list, or he's not in the chair. He left, but he will return. So in this case, the next customer that comes in after Andy, if this person doesn't mind waiting, and who else came in? It was Key. So Key comes in, a new client, and he's getting a haircut. So he doesn't mind having to wait an hour and a half, because if Andy doesn't come back, we can check in Key instead. So we can skip people in line. So I hope that makes sense for everybody. So let's go back to the presentation. So for customers, if you press new and you just type in the name of the customer, then that's all the information you need to record. But if your site requires you to actually get phone numbers, get emails, then that's where you want to press the clients button. And the clients button will allow you to search through a list of all of your customers. And you can search via first name, via last name. So we looked at adding clients. If you can, when you go to your client screen, go ahead and add the necessary details. Now, these details depend on your particular location. Some places ask for first name, last name, phone numbers, emails. How do they prefer to receive marketing? So your new customer screen may be a lot different than mine. It depends on your site. And then, are you going to add a tag? Are you going to select a service or multiple services for the customer? So, of course, the more details you have, the easier it is to actually record these customer history and record these notes. So once you've added your customer, you can, of course, put them into service right away if an employee is available, or if this customer does not mind waiting or choosing a different employee, you have those options. So Shortcuts assigns it to the first available, but if the customer has a preferred employee, you can absolutely tag them. And they can wait or they can return. So you're constantly moving customers from the left list to the right list. So customers can stay waiting, they can return, or they can decline. And then in that case, Shortcuts will remove that customer's information. And at any point, you can check out a customer and then put a new customer into service. So you don't have to, of course, wait until the countdown clock has finished. So if you need to change the visit settings for a customer that's waiting, you can right click on their name. You can add the service that they're receiving. You can change the service that they're receiving. And if you have a customer that's already in service, you can right click and you have multiple features. You can put them in a group. You can change the service they're receiving. You can update their tag or their notes for their visit, things like that. So client visit details, those are super important. It doesn't matter if you're a salon, a barbershop, a spa. The more information you have for each customer visit, the easier it is to perform services. So if you have customers that visit you time and time again all year long, you want to know what's their preferred hairstyle, what's their preferred color. Do you have a color formula? Do you have certain scissor cuts or other details that the staff absolutely needs to know about? So if you go to the customer's details, you can record all of that information. And I'm going to show you how to access that. So we're back in the Shortcuts point of sale. And Andy, for example, if Andy is one of my regular customers and I need to update his information, I can right click and change his details. Now on the right side, I would have to go to the clients button. Now remember, every customer that I've checked in so far, Clark, Steve, Colby, these are all just walk-ins. At no point did I actually go into the client card for them. So on the right side, this is why it's better for your business to start recording customer information. On this list, you can search by first name, by last name, or even by a phone number. So I'm going to choose my pretend customer, my Shortcuts test customer. If I go to this customer's card, this is where I can start updating their information. So do I have a new phone number for them? If the customer mentions it, or if your site does confirmations for appointments, we can always enter in a cell. If we get an email for the client because your salon or your spa or barbershop sends out emails on customer's birthday or other special events, so we want to record it. Now, at the bottom center, your most important button is your history button. So this goes for everybody, every site, every location. History is the most important button you want to learn about because this window will show all of the visits this customer has ever had, every service, every product he's ever purchased. But at the bottom of the screen, if this is my regular customer and I've cut his hair, 30 times in the past few years and I know exactly what type of cut he gets, then I want to make sure I have a visit note. So it's just a clipper cut. He gets a 2 on top, 1 on the sides. So whatever that note is, color formula, style of hair, something important for every visit, record it here. Now, I've cut this person's hair a million times, but I'm out sick on a certain day. And he comes in and he says, well, somebody else has to do my haircut. Just give me the usual. So even if that particular employee has never actually cut this person's hair, if that employee goes to this customer's card and they go to their history, then they'll know exactly what their regular cut is. So I hope that makes sense for everybody. So if it's important enough for your staff to know about, make sure you put a history note in there. So the next part. So you're able to record customer information, you're able to save it, update it. So getting customers into the system is only part of the challenge. The next thing you want to do is be able to check people out. Now I'm going to do a quick start of day or end of day. And I don't think I have a terminal enabled. Hold on just a second. Since this is my pretend computer, I don't have any registers to use. Okay, now I do. So now I'll be able to actually check people in and check people out. So I'll pretend I have 100 in the register, and I'll reset that in a minute. And I'll just call this my float. Okay, so checking customers out. Back to our presentation. So we talked about accessing the history, updating the customer details. So in the walk-in screen, you can actually check groups out at a time, but the fastest way to check out a group I'm going to show you is actually in the point of sale itself. So of course, in the point of sale, you can check out services, you can check out retails, you can group customers together. So I'm going to pause this before we get to the last slide and actually do a checkout. So traditionally, in Shortcuts, I can choose any customer on the right side and then just go to checkout. So I'm going to check out Colby. Oh, did I not do my start of day? Possibly. Did I not do my right register? Possibly. Okay, bear with me for just a moment. Okay, now can I check out Colby? Yes, I can. I finally have money in my register. So Colby's doing a hair, or Colby's getting a haircut. There's the staff. The customer pays like normal. So right in the point of sale, I can say this customer paid cash. There's my total, and I can end that sale. As soon as this customer checks out, then Shortcuts will say, okay, now that Colby's checked out, does somebody else want to go into service next? So if you have a front desk person or the employees themselves actually have to manage the staff or manage the customers that come in, then that staff member can choose the next person. And he can say, okay, Clark is going to be the next person. I'll put him in service and let's go. So from the point of sale screen, you can always check out a customer that literally walks in, doesn't even want to give you their name, and that may happen. You have customers that don't want to give you their name, their number, they just, hey, just give me a haircut. In that case, you can go directly to Walkin and then tell Shortcuts who did the haircut. This employee did the haircut, they did a service, they did a boys cut. So that's it. Shortcuts is not going to ask who the customer was, what their email was, anything like that. They're just going to pay and go. The same rules apply for retail. So if you have a customer that walks in off the street and they just want to buy a shampoo or a conditioner, then again, you can just use this pull down menu and sell it to a retail. But the most useful one is group. So if you choose group, Shortcuts will ask you who's in the group, who's about to check out. So I'm going to say Steve's in the group and Clark's in the group. And only one of these people are going to pay. So once I group them, Shortcuts gives me a total, and now only one customer has to pay. So I can end the sale. Shortcuts can check both of those customers out. And then once the transaction is completed, I can then check the next customer in and put them into service. And my test client, he's still away. He's going to come back later. So it's very easy to get customers into your system, to check customers out, put them in service using the Walkin Manager. It's a very simple left to right screen. There's really no way to get lost on this window. You just make sure that your staff always clocks in first and then just start checking customers in, whether you're just putting in a first name or if you're trying to record their actual names and histories. So this brings us all the way full circle. So we talked about group transactions. You can go directly to the point of sale, use the pull down menu, and tag the two people or the multiple people that are supposed to be in this group and check them all out. You can add service or retail upsells to individuals in that pull down menu. So if one of the customers got an extra haircut or purchased a product, you can still add that to their tickets. And then only one person has to pay. So that is the complete Walkin Manager in Shortcuts. It's a very simple tool to use. So today, if you're new to Shortcuts, if you're new to the Walkin Manager, remember, configure your walk-in options first. Do you want tickets to print automatically? Are you going to ask Shortcuts just for a customer name? Or do you really want to record the customer's history and search through your client list? Make sure you clock your staff in and out. So if you're hourly employees, make sure that they're able to clock in or even tell Shortcuts when they're away, or so that customers have an accurate wait time. How to use the wait and in service screen. And again, you just move customers from left to right. How to add those customer details, how to get to those customer histories. So remember, the client cards always have the ability to record additional histories. And of course, having the ability to check customers out. So if you want to register for more webinars, we of course have a webinar sign up on our company webpage at shortcuts.net. Plus, all of our older webinars do get recorded, do get uploaded there. So if you're looking for a presentation on cloud appointment book or running reports, things like that, there's probably a webinar for you. So time for questions. If you've been patient enough to wait for this late starting presentation and sit through it, and you have any questions, go ahead and type those in on the right side. So let me go. Erica has a question. Does Shortcuts track service times of each employee? Yes, it does. So not only does it track the clock in and clock out times for the staff, it'll track the total service times and give you averages as well for the staff. I'll show you some of the reports. The other question that Erica has, how does Walkin Manager work with the appointments already scheduled? Good questions, excellent questions. So let's jump in. So if I have an appointment scheduled and we're at approximately 9:45, so I'll say a customer wants to come in at 10 o'clock and I'll put in this person's name. This person is named New Guy, and I get a phone number. And so New Guy comes in, he has an appointment, he's a regular customer, and he's going to do some color. So I'm going to say, no, the employee wasn't tagged. So this person is scheduled for 10 o'clock. Now, any appointments that are in your appointment book for that particular day, for any employee, they will appear in the Walkin Manager. 15 minutes or 30 minutes, you can actually choose the window of when that appointment is going to appear on this window. So right now, my employees think that the next person that's coming in is my test customer. But as that time gets a little bit closer, and I'm going to move New Guy's appointment up 15 minutes. So as that appointment gets closer, that appointment is now going to appear on the Walkin Manager. So I could set it to show up the appointments 30 minutes before or an hour before. And that appointment even has a little icon on it. So when it appears in the Walkin Manager, there's a little calendar icon to remind us this customer has a standing appointment. So this employee has to perform that service. So that goes back to how does Walkin Manager work with the appointment schedule, but I'm going to go back to the previous question that Erica had, is how does the does it track service times for the employees? So in our reports, in Shortcuts, under employees, there's actually a few different reports that have that information. One of your popular ones, services by employees. Whenever you click on a particular report, now you may or may not have permission to see some of these reports. If you do not, an owner can actually give you permission to look at certain reports. Whenever you click on it, we always show you what is in that particular report on the report description on the right side. So you can take a look at services by employee, for example. We'll run the report for today. So it'll give us our totals. And if I click on a particular staff member, it'll say how many did they do, what their totals were. But I can get very specific. I can go to the labor versus sales. I can go to the performance summary, extended performance summary, and this is usually the information overload. But we will actually give you a breakdown. What were their total hours, their service hours? What were their averages, rebooking percentages? So those service times, those show up in a couple of different reports, but it depends on how do you want to frame that data against the business, against the averages, against the rest of the team, against themselves. What are their totals? So we have it in different reports. And you're welcome to explore these, of course, as long as you have permission. All right. So I hope those answers your questions. Oh, you're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions regarding the Walkin Manager or making sure that you're able to access it or use it? Oh, somebody else has a question. Let's see. Let me read it on the right side of the screen here. Let's see. How do you print the ticket of every client? So let's jump back. So we can configure shortcuts. As soon as a customer chooses a service, print the ticket automatically. So that's under Setup, Configuration. On the left side of the screen, General and General Walkin. So on the first column, you have a checkbox to either tell shortcuts as soon as a service is selected, then the customer will get a visit ticket. So that usually goes to the employee. Or only print the ticket when the customer actually goes into service. Because you can have a long list of customers, some are away, some are going to get some coffee, some are outside smoking, and you decide, I don't want to print a ticket for everybody because if some of these customers just walk away, I'm left with a bunch of tickets. Instead, I can tell shortcuts, only when a customer actually goes into service, print me a ticket. But if you manually wanted to print a ticket, you can right click on any customer that's on your wait screen and just print their ticket. In this case, it says reprint ticket. I hope that answers your question. That was for Heather. Okay. Are there any other questions with regards to the Walkin Manager, how to organize your staff or your customers, checking them in and checking them out? If you think of anything regarding this presentation, or if you have a question later today, something that I didn't talk about, you can absolutely reach out to us. So we are available not just on our shortcuts page, but also on Facebook and social media. So if you post any questions, we will get back to you. You can email us those questions. You can ask us on Facebook. We'll review them, get right back to you. So I believe those are all the questions for today. So thank you all for attending and thank you for being patient. I'm sorry that we were having computer problems this morning. We'll try to avoid that in the future. Anybody that was not able to attend this presentation, we're still going to email you to let you know once the copy of this presentation has been uploaded. And I look forward to seeing you on our next presentation. Have a great day, everybody.